Alright, welcome back to Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classic Legends Non-Classic. This is episode number 3122, Doubleshot number 3016. This is a redo because partway into the video froze. So I had to stop it, delete the video, and start over again. So, in the case of this particular video, we are discussing issues of Firestorm, Volume 2, 54 to 72, the fifth and final end of the series, and Black Condor, issues 7 to 12. 54 is a standalone issue by Paul Kupperberg. Yes, this would end up being his sole issue he would write for the book. And, oh boy, we're talking more, basically. So mostly put, this is basically a bit of a hippie-ish issue. It's okay. Well, it looks like basically trying to do a version like Woodstock or whatever. Firestorm takes care of whatever goes on here in this bizarre issue. And it almost seemed like that Paul basically wrote this as this probably was rejected script from Conway stuff, maybe. And that's the reason why way it was. And then moving on to 55. It's a first of two issues that tie into the Legends crossover. And also a brand spanking new regular writer with this issue. And this writer will end up being this volume's final writer. No more fill-in with their writers. The final writer of this book, and right at this point up until the last issue, issue 100, is none other than John Ostrander, the creator of the Suicide Squad. As a matter of fact, the very first issue he basically comes out basically just after the events of issue 1 of Legends, where you have Firestorm battling Brimstone and Cosmic Boy. And that's kind of what we're going on here. Yeah, this event would sound like with the end of just like Detroit, infamously, and the finale for this thing would lead to formation of the Justice League International. Not immediately first, but basically just trying to form a new Justice League. And basically, this just explains, it shows basically, for this issue, it's about chapter 7 of the whole crossover stuff. It lasts for a couple issues. Firestorm loses to Brimstone, and he starts being mopey about it. And I think it's one of these issues here. Yeah, so Firestorm More, issue 56. 56 is chapter 10 of the crossover connected issues of Legends, where it begins right where the last issue left off, where he's collapsed. And by the way, also guest appearance here by Hawk, of course, of Hawk and Dove. Dove didn't make a debut yet for another like couple years. Yeah, she made a debut in 1988, and she was created by Rob Liefeld, who still on this very day is Dove, despite the fact Hawk and Dove don't do much nowadays. And of course, they had separated course, and they were stuck with Hawk, obviously. By the way, he's simply known as the Hawk, not Hawk of Hawk and Dove, just simply the Hawk. Yeah, after a couple issues of this, and then move on to issue number 57. Come on, seriously. '57 is basically, well, by the way, this would be it's one issue not done by John Ostrander. I thought you were the whole thing. Nope, this issue skipped. This is done by Barbara Randall, the ex-wife of her maiden name was Ketzel, Barbara Ketzel. Randall is her maiden name. Her ex-husband is Carl Kitzler, great writer. So it just basically Firestorm being mopey, and eventually he does concede to become Firestorm once again. After with this minor threat here. It was like a parade, and then of course he goes home, leading to issue 58 of the book. And 58 is a very famous issue of the book. John Ostrander is back on the book. We open up on the planet Apocalypse. Probably the first at this point is probably seen as the end of Legends. Where Darkseid, we basically cut the Darkseid witnessing this like international coming about, thinks of Legends. I think, maybe I should use up with this random janitor. Yeah. And this random janitor, his name is Rudy Jones. And there's a reason why he's here. And, well, it's weird to say the least. Yeah. So, there's some chemical stuff, and then he transforms into the Parasite. You're thinking, wait, Nick. Parasite's a Superman villain. Why is he playing Firestorm? Because this is where Rudy Jones first showed up. Also, when he first showed up, he was green, not purple. Yeah, that was something the Superman writers thought we got that changed from green to purple. As for why in the world they did this for, I have no idea. My guess is Ostrander basically just introduced it because, hey, we need Parasite in Superman comics, so let's not introduce him in the pages of Superman, let's introduce him in Firestorm. We have Firehawk Period 2, and we have Firestorm being it's a similar situation here with Sabretooth, where a notorious Wolverine villain made his debut in Iron Fist. Or, another good example, Mystique, long-time X-Men villain, made first appearance in Miss Marvel. Deathbird, same thing. It's a very similar idea. And then, of course, you have stuff here going on with Ronnie and his girlfriend Dorian. And of course they fly off, and of course they deal with the Parasite. And then this is a storyline last issue 60, where one of the most bizarre things happens. And then Darkseid witnessing this. Yeah, this is basically Darkseid doing a power play. So yeah, the whole thing of Firestorm here and Firehawk, and they end up basically just dealing with Parasite pretty quickly. And then he's taken away, and then issue 60 comes about. 60 is another noteworthy issue of this book. This was something that probably this was Ostrander's idea. I'm sure Conway was asked to do this, but he's like, no, I'm not going to do that. Yeah, so in this issue, after the whole thing with Dorian, and of course that Firestorm come about, and then of course the stuff here with something else here. Yeah. And then we see Cliff Carmichael, a character who's been absent for the last several issues. He's back here. He's a bit less antagonistic toward Ronnie, as he was during the Jerry comic book. Yep. And then issue 61 has a return of Typhoon. Yep. The return of Typhoon. He's back. First at this point, I think it's issue like 49, I think it was. Yeah, so they bring him back here for this issue. My guess is because Austin probably felt as though, hey, can you use this guy? Sure, why not? And it's a pretty okay story. And then we lead into, well, we have a cliffhanger here where Professor Stein is dying. Sorry about that. Yeah. Come on. Yeah, he is dying. And then we have what looks like to be Dr. Phosphorus show, but no, it's not it. I think this might be Dr. Phosphorus, like something that looks like him. We got glasses, And it's basically all about Martin Stein where he's dying, and of course you have to share the body. And oh, by the way, we're also introduced to a new Firestorm in here named Putsar, the Russian Firestorm. He basically makes debut here. I think it was this issue in particular. Let me look up on here about this one. I want to be sure about this because I did not want to basically be incorrect with his knowledge. Let's see. Here he is. Putsar, aka Mikhail Arkin. He made his debut in '64, so it's not this issue. It's a future issue. And in this issue here, yeah, then we have the whole rogue hero stuff, and then we have, get this, we have an issue number 63, a fight between Captain Atom and Firestorm. You're thinking, wait, why would Captain Atom fight Firestorm? Because basically in issue 60, this is 63, 62, he wants to give all nukes. And apparently the military is not happy with that, so they sent Captain, and of course the JLI basically wants to go see something about it. Reagan is talking to Sick Man about it, and so as a response, they send this we send Captain Atom to deal with him. Apparently fought back issue 6 of Captain Atom's title, which Captain won, and then eventually, of course, his leads do something very interesting, asking where he is, and then basically we have Waller show up in the book, where she has pictures of Captain Boomerang, Deadshot, and Rick Flag, and I kid you not, the Firestorm Rogue Gallery. Well, some anyways. Basically just Parasite, Slipknot, and Parasite. Multiplex. Yes, and then basically in issue number 64, which this is the debut of the Russian Firestorm Putsar, the Suicide Squad shows up and basically says, I guess John was like, hey, I know how to take these characters out of this book, have them join the Suicide Squad. Yep, so in this issue in particular, it is found out, Ed Raymond finds out his son is Firestorm. And he's not happy with the fact he's the last person to know. Apparently Felicity knew, but he didn't. Apparently this is all Martin Stein's idea. And then Firehawk shows up. Yes, and they reveal the whole thing. She actually is Senator Riley's daughter. Yeah. And of course, he's upset. Then, and of course, the Suicide Squad is sent out. Yep, which basically this lineup is Captain Boomerang, Rick Flag, Deadshot, Killer Frost, Slipknot, Multiplex, Parasite, I think shows up here too. Of course, Killer Frost is still in the Crystal Frost look for some reason, and not in the current look. Yeah, this is still her original look. She basically is the copy for some reason. And then the JLIs show up, and then this leads into the final annual for Firestorm. Yep, number 5. I say final annual, and there's a good reason for that, and that's because it was the last annual published for Firestorm. Yeah, no other annual was published, and this is a very shocking annual, to say the least. Yes, John Oswald writes, this is the, not only this is the last annual for the book, this also is the only one of the annuals written by John Elswender, because after this, there's no more annuals. Not even the relaunch in 2000 annual. Yeah, so the JLI is here having a sparring match, and Parasite shows up here. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, Firehawk's here too, and of course, basically, everything doesn't go away, and then basically then for some reason, you have Slipknot basically orders to change for the Parasite. Sure you are. And then Batman shows up, knocks out Slipknot. Says, red flag, isn't it? Are the rest of Forgotten Heroes with you? Oh no. Oh, that's right, they disbanded. I assume here Firestorm. Yeah. So, then of course you have Paris trying to absorb Firehawk once again. And then of course Batman and Red Flag knock out Deadshot. So, they reluctantly work together to stop the frickin' Parasite. And of course they fly in the bug. And then the military in this book does something really stupid. Where, and of course, and Putzar here too, and then they just say, okay, here's the stupid moment here. They fire a nuclear missile at Firestorm. I'm like, what? Yeah. Oh, he survives, no problem, but yeah. They try to kill him, of course, comes unscathed, perfectly fine. And this leads into issue 65 of Firestorm. Yeah, the fallout of this. Yeah, surviving a nuclear missile. Sometimes the military in fiction is going to be completely stupid. Because they love their nuclear weapons. Yes, it's even like that in Godzilla as well. Well, basically, it's mostly the U.S. military like doing this. And he did walk out no problem. He, of course, is fired upon by the military. He doesn't do anything to them except try to save them. He doesn't end up killing anybody. He just saves them when, of course, he's able to leave after some destruction. Then Putzar basically goes back to Russia. Meanwhile, Ronnie has collapsed. Like, yeah, and of course, I explained the whole nuclear missile thing. And then, of course, it leads into issue 66. Yep, 66. Where, get this, we have John Ostrander writing an issue.
Welcome back to the channel.
Where, get this, in this issue, we have, I don't know why in the world Ostrander did this for. Because you have Firestorm dealing with aliens and Green Lantern. Though Hal Jordan, mind you, yes. You're like, what? F the whole thing with nuclear missile. It's like, hey, let's have some superhero fight superhero here, having Firestorm take on Green Lantern. Yeah. Oh yeah, and the reason why this is here? Because this leads into Millennium. Because for the next 2 issues, we have tie-ins to Millennium, where people who basically Firestorm knows, turns out they're actually working for Manhunters. And that's just kind of the gist of the book. And here's the weird thing. Unlike other tie-ins, with the exception of Batman, Superman, Action Comics, Detective Comics, with the exception of those big titles, Firestorm was one of those few titles that did not get canceled because of Millennium. So he ends up working with them, though kind of, with JLI, and of course he's reluctant. Not a big fan of the artwork of these issues. So, after a couple issues of this, by the way, the whole thing with the whole tie-in to Millennium, like they have week 1 being issue 67, and 68 is week 5. And after a couple issues of this tie-in, and then right afterwards you have him fight a demon. You're like, what? This comes right after the Millennium time, where he just fights a random demon. And you think at this point in time, Osborne has been in the book for probably a year. You're like, okay, we have some good interesting ideas here. Where it's like, what in the world is basically he thinking with this? Fighting a demon. Okay. It's a one-shot character, and then moving on to basically a 3-parter. What involves him time traveling. Yep, time traveling. For the next 2 issues. Almost like he tried to change the past for some reason. And yeah, the story itself gets wrapped up with issue 72, kind of, with the apparent death of Professor Martin Stein, ending these issues here. I gotta admit, these issues were a lot of fun. Oh my gosh, these issues were so good. And I give Firestorm, Volume 2 issues 54 to 72 and the 5th annual a 10 out of 10. Excellent stuff here. And we're going to 72 here. We now have about 28 issues left to go for the entire volume. Next up we have is Brian Augustine's Black Condor. A book that's okay. We have some action here. We have to deal with a trial. We not be happy with it. It's a series of events that happens over the course of these issues. Don't feel much connected per se. The last issue basically has them teamed with Batman and see the potential of him as a character, and that's kind of it. There's not really a lot discussing with Black Condor. I mainly checked out the book basically because it's a freedom fighter character. Why not? But the book itself is not terrible. It's just okay. Kind of stuff happens, but not a lot. Probably the best thing about this whole book is the artwork. So my final thoughts on Black Condor: it's an okay book, but nothing against Brian Augustine, who's written some much better stuff than this, like Gotham of Gaslight, for example, or his co-writing on Flash. This is not one of his best works, sadly. Yep. So yeah, that's pretty much their particular view. By the way, I give Black Condor a 8 out of 10. It's going to be replaced with, briefly, Blue Beetle, because I have one trade to go for that one, and that's it. And now we're done with Blue Beetle. For now, until whenever they do another Blue Beetle book. The only kind of Blue book I'd love to go after that is the Blue and Gold book by Dan Jurgens, which I'm very much looking forward to reviewing that one. Yep. So, I should wrap up here because I have a stream to do next. But, yeah. Firestorm moving much more forward with this one. The main reason why I want to do this now because it's been a while since I've reviewed any DC books. That's kind of interesting with me because lately all I've reviewed recently has mostly been just Marvel. Not much DC. I mean, prior to this one here and the last review, Fires, like, when was the last review anything DC related? I'm looking up here. I would say the last time was just before episode 3100. So basically after that, the next one basically would not do for DC. Until I did the Growing Pains one, which is basically the first one in 19 episodes. And then, of course, it did this one, too. Yep. Of course, yes, last Comic Con I did do a DC trade, per se, yes. But not much to say with this book. Well, basically a few right now. So, when I get back in my stream, I'm going to do 2 more Comic Corners. One from Libby, the other is right next to me. Okay? But the next video. Bye.